Hello, everyone. I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Heather Sells. The president promised it was coming unprecedented federal policies to address climate change. And today he unveiled them.
And he sure did. White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon explains why some fear the new policies are nails in the coffin for some jobs.
There is no question. Extreme weather is plaguing the U.S. While there's disagreement among scientists about what's causing it, President Obama says he has no patience for those who deny human activity is affecting the climate and says the U.S. has a moral obligation to address it.
As a president, as a father, and as an American, I'm here to say we need to act.
He's directing his administration to launch the first ever federal regulations on heat-trapping gases.
To put an end to the limitless dumping of carbon pollution from our power plants and complete new pollution standards for both new and existing power plants.
Mr. Obama says new regulations will cause companies to innovate, creating new industries and jobs. But some Republicans accuse the Obama administration of systematically trying to eliminate some fossil fuels, especially coal. In response to the president's plans, Kentucky Congressman Ed Whitfield says, quote, he is personally responsible for the loss of thousands of jobs. He obviously does not have much interest in states like Kentucky, Tennessee, and Wyoming, where the coal industry is so vitally important, and we are losing jobs dramatically. Other parts of the president's plan include streamlining approval for clean energy projects and fortifying the nation's infrastructure to better weather powerful storms. And while the president acknowledges oil must be part of the nation's energy portfolio, he offered a grim outlook for the future of the Keystone Pipeline, the project that would carry crude from Canada to refineries along the Gulf. It's currently under review by the State Department.
The net effects of the pipeline's impact on our climate will be absolutely critical to determining whether this project is allowed to go forward.
New regulations announced by the president will be implemented through his agencies by presidential memorandum, leaving Congress out of the loop. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
And joining us now with more is Nick Loris of the Heritage Foundation. Nick, Heritage has been researching the impact of these coal regulations. What have you found?
We found significant economic losses, to our economy, to employment. If we start to phase out coal, which has been an important source of affordable, reliable electricity, you're talking about over 500,000 jobs lost, over $1.4 trillion lost in the next decade and a half in gross domestic product. So the economic losses as a result of phasing out something that's been so important to us as an energy source are devastating.
And how do you see that impacting energy costs for Americans?
Well, we found that electricity prices would increase 20% overall. One of the most devastating impacts is going to be on natural gas prices, where a lot of that energy that we're losing from coal has to be met by natural gas. So natural gas prices, we found, increased 42%. And when you have all these manufacturers saying we're going to have a manufacturing renaissance here in the U.S., as a result of cheap natural gas prices, this increase in natural gas prices could take those manufacturing jobs away.
Sounds like a lot of consequences there. The Obama administration has taken steps before to restrict the coal industry. What's different this time?
Well, this time they're talking about carbon emission reductions for new and existing power plants. And because a lot of our coal generation provides 40% of our electricity now, implementing regulations that would affect not only the new plants and really effectively prohibit the construction of new coal-fired power plants, but also the existing one, it really takes coal out as an option almost completely.
How do you see this impacting the climate if the U.S. does cut back on its carbon emissions?
And that's a really important question, because a lot of people say, isn't this worth it? Isn't it going to help us really save our planet? And the answer is no. You're talking about, even if we reduced all our carbon dioxide emissions today, completely stopped everything, you're talking about 0.08 degrees Celsius change in global temperatures by the year 2050. So it's a lot of economic pain for very minimal, if any, climate benefit.
Okay, and just about 30 seconds left. How far do you think this is going to go? The EPA still has to work with the states on this, and Congress could thwart it with some legislation. What's going to happen?
Yeah, it'll take some time, that's for sure. But the reason President is doing this is because cap and trade failed in Congress, and he wants to do this, on his own. So that's the problem, and Congress really should intervene and prevent the EPA and other regulatory agencies from regulating carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions because, again, you're talking about huge costs to American families and American businesses for very negligible reductions in global temperatures.
All right, Nick Loris with the Heritage Foundation, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
The Supreme Court has struck down a key part of the Voting Rights Act. Justices ruled 5-4 to eliminate a 40-year-old provision requiring special federal oversight of states with a history of discrimination. They argue the law is based on old data and cannot be enforced unless Congress establishes a new formula for determining which state requires provision. The court did keep part of the law used to open up polling places to minority voters in the South during the 60s.
The IRS says it has screened more than just Tea Party and conservative groups who were looking for tax-exempt status. The tax agency now says it also checked liberal groups who used words like progressive and Occupy. Conservative groups had complained that the IRS was holding up their applications. And one survey by McClatchy News Service found that no liberal groups had complained. The IRS had said that the screenings had stopped in May of last year, but now it says those screenings lasted until earlier this month.
Moving overseas, the American fugitive Edward Snowden is reportedly still in Russia. Even though no one has seen him for days, Russia's president announced late today that he was still in his country. Snowden is apparently here inside Moscow's international airport with no Russian visa, but in an area reserved for passengers transiting through the country. Russia's President Vladimir Putin says Snowden is free to leave and should do so as soon as possible. The United States wants the Russians to hand over the former agent.
We would hope that Russia would not see its interests in siding with a person who is accused of breaking the law in another nation and who is a fugitive from justice according to international standards of law.
Snowden is reportedly trying to leave Russia en route to Ecuador, where he's requested political asylum.
I feel like every country's going, hot potato, he's not ours, he's not ours.
The U.S. government has revoked his passport and charged him with revealing details of a secret surveillance program. The former NSA agent is reportedly carrying laptops full of classified information that security experts fear could already be in the hands of China and Russia. The Snowden fiasco is putting strains on America's relations with China and Russia. Russia's president says Snowden has committed no crime and will not be extradited.
These are the fruits of a foreign policy that says that if you just talk and get along with people, everything will work out. And Vladimir Putin has been waiting a long time for an American president that he can push around. And I'm afraid he's getting away with that.
Meanwhile, China's top government newspaper praised the American leaker for, quote, tearing off Washington's sanctimonious mask after Snowden revealed the U.S. has been hacking into Chinese computer systems. And as you can imagine, the outrage between the United States and China is mutual. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney saying China will face consequences for letting Snowden escape from their control in Hong Kong.